This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, cool. So we'll proceed further with the uh, leftover configurations for in creating the ledger, right? So what we discussed. So for a ledger, to create a ledger, we would need the currency calendar chart of account structure instance and accounting method. Accounting method. So which we discussed what is the significance as well. So we discussed the currency. We have seen the currency calendar so far, and the accounting method we are going to use the standard one. So the leftover topic from this required configuration is the chart of account structure instance. So as we discussed in the previous class, the structure instance is dependent on the chart of account structure, and the structure is the made up of segments, and each segment is going to be assigned with the value set. That is where we are seeing the value sets in the column C. So to be able to reach out to the to be able to create the chart of account structure instance, we should have all these configurations in place, right? So to do that, we'll start from the value set now, value set creation. Okay, so what is a value set? It is so what is a value set is value set we are going to create and assign to a segment in the chart of account structure, right? So what does a value set will do is it determines the attributes and the values of that segment. Okay, so whenever you are going to create a value set, and you are going to assign to a specific segment, what it will do is it determines certain attributes. What are the values that are going to insert under that value the segment, as well as what is the format, what format I'm going to enter the values inside of that segment. That is where it carries the details of the segment. Okay, so let us see the value set form. We'll discuss further. So manage chart of accounts value set value sets we will need. You can see there are multiple tasks you can see, right? So manage chart of account value sets is the relevant task that we should go with. So click on go to task. Okay, so here is the form where it takes you to the value sets form, where it gives you the certain search criteria to query the existing value sets which are available in the system, and you even have an option to create the value sets. Okay, so before going into the create, there is a search panel enabled, right? Th- this is the search panel which got enabled. So to search for the existing the value sets which already exist by the users, which other users creates, as well as there are default value sets which Oracle also gives you in demo instance that you can search for. Okay, so each of these search criteria, if you can see, there are two asterisks, two star symbols given for each of these search criteria, search parameters. Okay, so what does it mean is, so any one of the, wherever you see the two stars, so it means that any one of the search value, any one of the value has to be given in the search before you click on the search button, so that the application can pull out the relevant data. Otherwise it won't allow you, it will ask you to provide this data, which means it is optional, any one of the value has to be provided. Okay, whereas if you see, sometimes if you see single star, one asterisk, in that case that value must be provided in your search criteria. Okay, maybe the partial value also system accepts the partial value, so that the partial, based on the partial value whatever you give as the parameter, such parameter, it pulls up the data and it gives you the relevant search results. Okay, that is about the search panel you see on that one. Okay, so first we'll try to create the value sets. We'll see the what are the various options available on the value set, and we'll come back and we'll search the value set that we created. Okay, so how can you go for an create value set? So similar, click on the create button or go from the actions. You can do it from both ways. Okay, just I'm clicking on create button. Okay, so so what it is, there are certain values you need to provide while creating the value set. The value set code is going to be represented for your value set. Okay, it is an kind of name, whatever the name you are going to create, right? That the name you will be giving in the code, which is an unique value for each value set. Okay, I'm just taking Apple company value set. Okay, so the value sets, whatever the value sets we are talking, we are talking about the key flex field value set, that we are talking about the chart of segments value sets are part of your general ledger, right? So where you are creating your general ledger, primary ledger, you are creating your ledgers in your GL, general ledger, right? So the value set which you are going to assign for the chart of account structure segments has to be part of your general ledger module. So select the module, relevant module from the list of values. So these are all the predefined values you can select from the application. So I have selected the module as general ledger, and there is a value called validation type. What does it mean is, as I said, what is a value set is, it determines the attributes as well as the values of that values of that segment, right? So what is that validations? So these are predefined validation that Oracle gives, or Oracle supports. Okay, so depends upon the selection, the segment value controlling will be behavioral of this segment value control will be achieved by this validation type that you are going to select. Okay, so there are quite few validations you can see, right? One of them is the format only. When you select the format only, application gives you an option for a user to give the values while entering the journal, which means the values of that segment, the values that we are going to enter under that segments are going to be a free text kind of option where the user has to give the value while creating a journal. Okay, so the other one is the, what you can see on the other one is the independent. So independent value set is, it contains the list of values, is list of valued values which you are going to upload, which you are going to insert into that value sets. So these values are unique for that value, for that segment, right? So the values which are unique to that segment. So generally in chart of accounts, what Oracle says is the best practice is to use the independent validation type for your chart of account segment value sets. Okay, so the next one you see on the list is the dependent one. Whereas dependent one is the values of the values which you're gonna insert into your dependent value set are dependent on the other value. So while defining the value, while defining the values for a dependent type, it asks you to what value what value you are what value the dependent value set value is dependent on the independent value. Okay, we will see the difference. What is this? How does this selection makes the difference while entering the values? Okay, the rule is the format is the format. It will not show any list of values. You do not need to insert a values inside the value set where when you select the format. So if it is a format value set, it asks you, it gives you an option for the user to enter the value while creating a journal. Okay, whereas independent and dependent, both these are the value sets where the values are going to be inserted by the user, and those values will be shown as an from the list of values. The user has to select the values from the list of values, which means the application is going to validate the data from these value sets. Okay, but the major difference between independent and dependent is independent value set is having its own unique values which are not at all dependent on any of the value, but dependent value set values are dependent on one of the independent value set values. Okay, so where you are going to use, for example, maybe an general example I'll tell you. So for your whenever you are giving an address, so it is kind of dependent one of the value in your address structure. Let us say or you are giving one of the website you are logged in, and it asks you to provide the data, your address. So what happens, initially you will be selecting country from the list of values, right? Once the country is selected, depends upon the address structure that defined, it asks you to the provide the state. Let us say, for take as an example, Indian address structure if you take. So country will have states will have cities, and city will have further ground level address, right? So how come this one of the value one value is dependent on the other value? Here is the country is the parent, and country will consist of its dependent values as states, and state will have the dependent values cities, right? So that is where the difference is going to make between the independent and dependent. Okay, the subset is also is an kind of independent value set. So there is another validation type you can see is the table. So where if it is table, you are going to give the corresponding table name, which means there will be a table is going to be created in the Oracle applications, and the table will have its columns, right? The column, you are going to refer that column from where the values has to be picked for this value set, which means you are not going to insert the values inside this value set, but you are going to insert the values in the backend tables. That is where the difference is going to make. Okay, so as we discussed, we are going to define the value sets with the validation type as independent. So that is what Oracle also tells you, that it is best practice to use the independent value set to your chart of account structure value sets. Okay, so data value type, the next column is the data value type. What type of data you are going to enter into this value set? So we are going to give a condition or the validation on your value data type, saying that what type of data can be entered into this value set, whether it is going to be a character, number, date and time, depends upon your selection, right? So I am going to select the char as my value data type. Okay, if it is character, it accepts everything, right? Whereas if it is number, it accepts only numbers. If it is date, it will give you the date selection options, how you are going to enter. Okay, so there is another column called security enabled. What does it mean is there are an additional layered security is being introduced in Oracle GL with respect to the value set. What are the values which which can be accessed by the specific user who has access to the specific roles, which means you can control in the application for specific user to be able to access these specific values of this value set. Okay, let us say the company value set having the 100 companies. So let us say we are going to an Apple company, we are implementing an Apple company for an Apple company, and the Apple has uh, n number of companies. Let us say 10 companies, 10 legal entities this Apple group has. So 10 legal entities you are going to create as companies in value set, right? So those values, 10 legal entities, which all users can access, which user can access which company. Similarly we are going to create the other value sets as well, right? For example, the natural account, for example the product. So which all these segment values of these respective segments can be accessed by which user. That is where Oracle gives you an security to define, and those security depends upon the security rules definition and access. The control access to this value set will be controlled by the application. Okay, so so we will enable this security, and we will see how you define the security rules once we are done with the ledgers, and we'll see some manual generals, and we'll come back here and we'll see how to restrict the values for specific users. Okay, and value subtype is the text, translated text. There are other options you can see. So I'm going to choose the text as my value subtype, and immediately once you select the text, it got populated with few other options, right? So what is the maximum length? Maximum length means how many values that application can allow the user to insert into this value set. Okay, for example, the Apple company value set, this value set we are going to create and we are going to assign to the Apple company segment, right? So inside of the segments, how many values that the application should allow. Okay, length, for example, if I take 3, so what is the maximum length till the third segment? It is 999, right? 999 values the application is going to allow. Okay, so I'm going to enter 4. I'm going to select 4 as the maximum length, and there are minimum and maximum values that you can define under this value set. And there are two other options: uppercase only, zero fill, which means the values will be turned into an uppercase if you select this button, and zero fill, it will add the zeros to the number, right? So if you select the 4, if you select the maximum length as 4, and you are going to give the value set value as only 1, then application adds the zeros to that number to make that the length of the segment as 4. Okay, I'm just, since I've provided the required values, I'm just saving this value set.
Tirupati.
Yes.
Here the maximum length for the Apple company value set is mentioned as a 4. Is there any mandatory condition for mention the particular segment has a particular maximum length? This segment has a maximum length
There
of
is
4. This segment has.
no. Just I've taken as an example. So depends upon the how the company wants to represent. In that case, you need to update this one. See, in general, what happens? We will be representing each of this company with one of the numerical value. Okay, so assume that if your customer says that, so I have the limited number of legal entities. I want only two. I want to represent with only two values. I mean, I don't have an constraint in having the segment length as 2. It depends upon the final conclusion that you are going to discuss with your customer. So there is no specific rule laid out by Oracle saying that for company you should follow this, for account you should follow this. Okay, it is. it is a free value that you as a consultant you can decide with your customer. You can depends upon that conclusion you are going to configure the application. Clear?
Yes, Tirupati.
Okay, fine. So once we saved, you can see the button manage values, it got enabled. Okay, which means from here you can go and define the values as well. Okay, but we are not going to define the values from here, but and also we will be defining the values once we are done with the structure instance. Okay, so the values can be created from the value set creation form as well. That is what the one of the point I want to bring in. Okay, so just click on save and close. Right, so we have to, how many value set we have to create? As discussed, each of this chart
Six.
of account segment is going to be assigned with value set, right? We are going to create 6 value sets. Click on 7 close, click on add. Character text, this is department, right? Department again, I think it should be 3, should be fine. 7 close. So let us have create this product value set as well. We'll discuss about these segments derivation as well in our once we are done with the value sets. Basically, we'll first finish up with the value sets first. Should be independent. So we are creating an independent specific value set uh, for the segment called intercompany as well. So we'll discuss about that. What was the company value set length we had created? I guess it was 4, right?
Yes, Thiru.
Anyone? Yes. Okay. Thank you. So, so another thing, another value set we are going to create a one as an uh, buffer value set segment for future use, right?
You know how many value sets we can create?
So it allows anywhere any number of value sets you can create. So there is no restriction.
In future stages also we can able to create, right?
Yes, 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 you can. Okay. So we are done with the required value set creation for our practice purpose. Okay, so once you created value sets, where you can search for the where you can view the value set is the same form. Once you come into the manage value set manage chart of account value sets form, you need to, as I said, you need to provide the search criteria, right? So provide the search criteria in one of the parameter which system asks you, then you can see the value set that we just created, right? So all of them are created under the module general ledger with the validation type independent. If you remember, the character type we have the value data type we have selected as character, right? So you can you can go and view into the value set by going into the edit mode from the edit option which is in the pencil symbol, right? So this is also from where you can control the values. So once the value set is created, you can go and add the values inside of this value set, depends upon the validation type that you select, right? So for as I said, for format type validation, you don't need to insert the values, but for dependent independent subset, you have to give the values, and the values are going to be used by the user while creating a journal, and system is going to perform the validation on the values that we are going to create under this value set. That is what we discussed so far. And for your just for your information, and while you are working, there is an Oracle also gives you as a seeded value set which you can use as an reference. Okay, so with the name you can search with the name called corporate. Okay. So everyone is going to create their value set according to their chart of account structure. But if you struck somewhere, how we are going to going to create the value sets. So the Oracle as a predefined solution, it gives certain value sets already created in your application. So these are the corporate account, company, cost center, line of business, product. These are all the value set which Oracle gives you as a seeded as part of your out of the box seeded functionality. Okay, you can use them for your reference purpose. Okay, don't use these value sets for your chart of account structure. Okay, okay, so next is to once we are done with the value set, we are in the next topic of creating the segments, right? Where do you create your segments, and will come to that point. Okay, so basically what happens, the Oracle, how does an Oracle stores the information inside of Oracle? So Oracle Oracle stores the information in the form of flex fields. Okay, so what is the flex field is? It is a configuration data field that Oracle gives you as an out of box functionality. Okay, basically flex fields are the major areas where you are going to use to define your structure, and based on the structure that data is going to be stored inside of Oracle applications. Okay, so what is a flex field? In short, it's a data model, right? The flex fields are a data model. You are not going to do any programming kind of action in Oracle applications to define your structure to store the data. Okay, Oracle already as a out of the box functionality, Oracle gives you some kind of flex fields. Okay, depends upon the flex field, you are going to define a structure inside of a flex field, and that structure is going to store the is going to consume the data, and it goes to store the data inside the database, out of which you can generate the reports. Okay, so how Oracle stores the data is in the form of flex fields. Okay, flex fields are the data models which Oracle gives, under which data model you are going to create structures. Okay, so what are the types of flex fields available in Oracle? Okay, so key flex fields, which we call as KFF, key flex fields, DFF, descriptive flex fields. So what is a KFF? What is a DFF? KFF, KFF, key flex field, it is a data model which Oracle gives for the modules. Maybe for general ledger you will be having a KFF, or assets module you are going to have a KFF, and for a part of SEM solution also you will be having some KFF, and HCM track also offering also will be having some KFFs. Okay, so what you are going to do is, simply you are going to use the key flex fields which Oracle gives, and we are going to define the required structure inside of your key flex fields, KFFs. Okay, key flex fields are mandatory to be used. Okay, so whereas what is the purpose of descriptive flex field? Okay, wherever the uh, these are the actually additional form of data capturing options inside Oracle applications. Okay, so these are the DFFs are going to capture then additional data on top of the data you are going to capture on key flex fields. Okay, that is what the major difference between the key flex fields and DFF, descriptive flex fields. Descriptive flex fields are optional wherever you are going to. For example, there is a journal form. Okay, for the journal form, Oracle already gives you with the structured form. Okay, journal will have headers will have lines, right? So the form will already be developed in a predefined way with some of the required attributes that Oracle feels it required. Those values are already part of your journal form. Okay, let us say you want to capture some of the additional attributes. So how you can do that? You don't need to go for an customization. I mean, you don't need to go for an program development customization. Oracle gives you an option to go and define the descriptive flex fields on the form, and you can start using those values, the descriptive flex field segments, to capture the additional data. Okay, so we will see how you are going to define the descriptive flex fields as part of our course curriculum, where we are going to cover this topic as well. Okay, so coming back to the key flex fields. So why this key flex field topic has came now is because the structure, whatever the structure we are talking, right, the chart of account structure, it is going to be defined under your key flex field. Okay, what is that key flex field is? Accounting key flex field. We are going to define the chart of account structure on top of your accounting flex field. Okay, accounting, in short, accounting flex field is the key flex field which gives you an option to define the chart of account structure as you required, and that accounting flex field is going to store the data as per your defined structures. Okay, so let us go on see the accounting flex field KFF, and will define the chart of account structure over there. So we are done with the task called value sets, right? So once the value sets are done, then you need to create COA, chart of account structures. Okay, so where you are going to define your chart of account structure on one of the KFF which Oracle gives you, right? Let us go to the task called chart of account structures. Manage chart of account structure. That should be suffice. Okay. Okay. Can you see the task manage chart of account structures? Click on this manage chart of account structures and click on go to task. Okay. Click on go to task. So right now we are in the chart of account structure creation form. Okay. So can you see the search option? It is asking key flex field code, key flex field name, and the module. Okay, so there are certain key flex fields which Oracle gives for various modules. Okay, so you can search with the key flex field. Key flex field depends upon the search criteria. Let us go and search with all the modules. See, can you see there are various modules? Okay, so for which the uh, key flex fields are available. Okay. Okay, so this is the application general ledger, and the key flex field name accounting flex field is the key flex field for which under which we are going to create a chart of account structures, right? So we are on the flex field form now. You can see there are various options. You can see various on the just above this name. You can see the manage structures, manage structure instance, and deploy flex fields. These are all the three actions we are going to perform on top of this flex field. Okay, first you need to create a structure, and structure will be part of your structure instance. Once it is created, you need to deploy it deploy this application, deploy this KFF. So what happens when you do that? It application does some validations. What are the validations? We'll see while we are working on the deployment. Okay, so our job right now is to go and create a chart of account structure. Just click on manage structures. So it takes you to the manage structures form. Here you can search for the existing structures that are already available in the application. Okay, you can see what I did. here I just clicked on search button. Okay, what happened? Application is displaying all the chart of account structures that are created under this key flex field. Key flex field, accounting key flex field is already being defined with these many chart of account structures. Okay, why these many chart of account structures are available here? Because it is an demo instance where the users will be creating their own chart of account structure for working for a practice purpose, right? That is why you will be seeing the multiple structures here, but in your real-time projects you will be seeing the limited chart of account structure that you are going to create for your implementation, right? Okay, so our job now, right now our job is to go and create a chart of account structure, right? So just click on the create button, or you can do it from the actions as well. Okay, so we'll come back to the once we create a chart of account structure, and then we'll come back to the edit option of this chart of account structure, right? So so once you click on create, it is asking you to provide some the required fields of your chart of account structure which we are creating. Okay, just give the code apple coa. I'm giving as for apple. Okay, and so once you are provided the code name and description, there is an option called delimiter. So what does this delimiter use is, it is basically a separator between your segment values. Okay, where you are going to see that is while you are entering the journals, so we are whatever the segments we are going to define, right? The each of the segment, for each of the segment a value needs to be selected, value needs to be passed while creating a journal. Okay, so how does that value of the segments is going to be separated? There are predefined values this Oracle gives you. Okay, just I am selecting this the dash symbol from the delimiter option that Oracle gives you. Okay, there are various options you can select from this list. Okay, so there is another option called enable, which means the chart of account structure is enabled and this structure is going to be used in the structure instance creation. One, unless until is enabled, it cannot be used in the next steps, which this chart of account structure cannot be used. If it is disabled, this cannot be used going forward in the ledger creation process. Okay, so once you provided these details, just click on save. Okay, once we clicked on save, can you see these create the segments creation button got enabled here? Okay, what is this segment now? Okay, as we discussed, charts of account structure is made up of segments, right? The segments is the representation how you are going to how you are going to how you are going to represent your data, financials data inside your Oracle applications, and how you are going to generate reports on top of that. Okay, so what Oracle says, so this is the once you click on the segment, it pops up the segment creation form. So segment creation, which means the you are going to add a segment on top of your chart of account structure, right? As we discussed, what how many segments are, what are the minimum segments required for your chart of account structure? We had discussed
Two.
while discussing the enterprise structure, two segments which are
Two,
mandatory.
two segments.
Yes, what is the maximum length? How many
30
segment
segments.
maximum? 30 Oracle allows, right? So why two is required? because you are going to generate the financials, you are going to generate the financial for each company level, right? So you should have a qualifier saying that this is my company, right? As well as you are going to record these accounts, record these details, the whatever the transaction details has to go and hit into specific account, right? So the balances are going to be maintained on account level, right? So for this company, for Apple Inc, what is my cash balance? Apple Inc, what is my expenses? What are my travel expenses that are being incurred? What are my telephone expenses? What is the rental that I am paying, right? What is the income that I am generating, right? This all information is going to be stored under the your accounts, right? That is where the minimum segments required for any of the chart of account implementation is to what are they, the company and the account. Okay, that is why we will be having the minimum chart of account, minimum segments that Oracle asks you to define two. But how many segments you can define? Max of 30. And what is the structure you are going to define? So Oracle says minimum 2, max 30. And what, how many segments you are going to define for a given client? Okay, that depends upon the that segments, number of segments that you are going to define, you are going to define for the customer, depends upon the what detail level the customer wants to track their transactions. Okay, so from this example, from this previous example, the internet, let us will discuss on this same example. So Apple Inc got an invoice from the one of the internet service vendor for an amount, some amount. Okay, this obviously the transaction has to be recorded in the Oracle applications, right? So here the since this expense, the telephone internet expenses are incurred by Apple Inc, right? This is where you need to segregate. Let us say Apple has another company called Apple India. Maybe in US itself, Apple may have its another subsidiaries. Okay, so to differentiate this expenses to belongs to which company, you should have an identifier in the transaction, right? That is why the where the company segment is going to take care, right? The other qualifier, other option, if from this example, is the what we are talking about is the internet expenses, right? This internet expenses are how you differentiate this internet expenses, right? By way of having a unique account for this expenses, right? How you can differentiate your telephone expenses? By defining a unique account for telephone expenses, right? So these are the by this narration, at least the why two segments are required, that is clear. And now next question is, what should be the ideal structure that you are going to define for any of the customer? Okay, from this example, we have came to a conclusion that company is required, account is required. And see, basically how this structure is dependent on the objective, is dependent on the customer requirement, at what detail level the transaction is going to be recorded, and what detail level the reporting is expected out of it. Okay, so from this, if you are going to record this transaction by way of this company and account and company account, can you identify this $1,000 of internet expenses belongs to which department? Let us say the company is having the multiple departments. Okay, generally any company will have multiple departments, right? Maybe it's HR department, finance department, or sales department, right? Operations department, right? So this $1,000, let us say this $1,000 internet is being used by finance department, HR department, sales department, operations department. Let us say this company is going wants to track these expenses at department level. Can you generate report without providing these details in your chart of account structure? No, right? So to facilitate that reporting, the transaction in first place, the transaction has to be recorded in that much detail, right? That is why you are going to add a department segment as well. Okay, and the company also, see, companies generally, what happens, companies generally, they'll be dealing with n number of products. Okay, and there may be a certain point of time the company, as a company, they also wants to know what are the expenses that I have incurred for a given period, for a specific range of products or specific product, and what is the revenue that I generated for a specific a product or specific range of products for a given period. How do you do that? How you can generate that report without without providing that data, without providing without providing the details to the system in first place, right? If you want to generate some report, the primary requirement is to, you should have that data inside your application, right? So that the required report can be generated, required information can be generated in the form of report. Okay, so assume that this company wants to track their expenses on product line level or track their revenues on this product line level, right? In that case, the objective is to store the transactions, record this transaction in that detail level, right? So you need to add an segment for product as well. What you are going to do, so you are going to define a segment, and this segment is going to be assigned with a value set, and this value set will corresponding value set will be going to be defined with the corresponding values, right? Product segment will be having these product sides, whatever the company deals with, right? So there may be a certain customers, they want to track their transactions or financial location wise as well, maybe geographical location they want to use, right? These all detailed transactions will be outcome of your discoveries that you are going to do with your customer. Okay, the customer says that what are the detail level that they want. Okay, as part of your discoveries, you are going to demonstrate this. One of, maybe you are your senior consultant in the project, whoever may be demonstrating the discovery, right? Demonstrating the product to the customer, that we call as in discovery, in discovery sessions in Oracle, right? While discovering, you will be explaining this chart of account structure. What is the use of chart of account structure? What is the use of this chart of account structure, right? This is what we discussed, is basically is to record your transaction into the detailed level, to some extent in detailed level, and you can generate the reports on your transaction that you are recording. Okay, another segment is the intercompany that we are going to add into our chart of account structure, just to report the intercompany transactions. What is an intercompany transaction? Is the transaction between the companies of group companies. Okay, Apple Inc group may be having 10 to 15 companies, and 10 to 15 companies or 10 to 15 legal entities, and each of these legal entities may transact between them, right? It is a valid scenario as well, right? So how do you track those intercompany transactions? By way of handling an intercompany segment in your chart of construction, right? And these are the segment we are going to use, and we are also going to add one future segment. So let us say after go live, the after implementing, once you are implemented, the application is going to be used by the business. And once this structure is defined, once the chart of account structure is defined, it cannot be altered in future. Okay, that is one of the bottom line thumb rule. That is why what Oracle says is, once the chart of account structure is started using, you can never you should never update the chart of account structure. Which means, what does it mean is, you should not add any new segments into this chart of account structure. So what happens if after 4 5 years company says that I want to track my financials further details level? So how do you do that? It cannot scrap the existing implementation, it cannot go for a re-implementation, right? So the best practice what we do is, we will we will create some buffer segments, future segments, which can be start using in future as the customer, as and when the customer requires. Okay, this is how you will be coming into a conclusion saying that what are the, how many segments I need to define inside a chart of account structure. Minimum to max 30, but what is the ideal length, what is the uh, ideal structure that you need to define? That is the outcome of your discoveries. What level the transaction the customer wants. This is the general structure. This is the bare minimum structure that you can think of. Minimum, definitely you would be needing these segments. In addition, definitely as per their requirement, you will be adding the multiple segments inside your chart of account structure. Okay, any question on this structure before we creating the segments? Okay, so let us go and define the segments here. And these segments also will be having, we will be having another topic on top of this segment. There is a segment labels, we will discuss on that one. Okay. Okay, Apple. Sorry. Apple company is the segment code. I'm going to create an segment. I'm defining in first segment. So from this list we are adding the segments into the chart of account structure. This is what we discussed, right? For each of this segment, we are defining a segment inside your chart of account structure. Right now we are working on the chart of account structure, the column which we have noted on the column G. Okay, this column G is the combination of segments which are mentioned in column E. Okay, so let us define the segment first. So once you give the segment and tab out, the API name is automatically default with the segment code that you have given. What does it mean is, already application populates the what is the use of this specific column. Okay, specify a name that identifies the segment in the web services reporting and the other integration points. Okay, so the API name column is used while you are working on the integrations. So this segment column is going to be used by way of this name. It is just for the integration purpose to avoid the mapping errors. What Oracle has given is API name. you API name is going to be auto populated from the segment code, and this naming convention is going to be used by the Oracle application for your working on the integration purpose. What is that integration is? Where you are building custom processes, where you are defining custom processes to connect the different applications. Okay, There may be a scenario where Oracle Fusion is going to be connected, talk to maybe an Workday. Maybe this Oracle Fusion is going to be talk to SAP. Maybe it going to be connected to SAP. Why? Because the customer may be using for financial, the customer may be using the Oracle Fusion, and for HRMS, the customer may be using Workday. So these two, how these two ERP is going to be connected is by way of integrations. Okay, while working on the integrations, each of this column is connected to the one of the column in the other applications, right? How that connection is going to happen? By way of this column name. This is where the column name is automatically going to be populated. Okay, and I'm just giving the name of this segment, description, and there is an column called sequence. What is this sequence is? What is the sequence? See, we are defining the we are defining a chart of account structure which contains of multiple segments, 6 to 8 segments. And what is the what should be the segment which should be on number one position? What should be the segment which should be on level 2? That is where it is going to be derived. Okay, prompt is also an value which you are going to see on your transaction form, which we will see while working on the journal. Okay, enabled, which means the segment is enabled, which means you can go and define your which it can be used in the further process down level. Okay, and display width is the it is the what width, what length the application displays on this segment data. That is where you are going to derive. Okay, and the column name, what is this column name is? Just go and check, go and see the list of values. Okay, just click on search. Here you can see 30 segments, 1 to 30, which means this is the driving factor actually. So what we discussed, Oracle's what are the maximum length, maximum segment that Oracle allows you to define is 30, right? So which means this this accounting flex field is designed in such a way it supports till the 30 segments, and each of this segment we are adding is going to be represent one of this segment name that Oracle gives you. That is why you have a limitation on Oracle gives you 30 segments, and one of the segment has to be mapped to your segment that you are adding on your chart of account structure, right? So once the what happens is the data we are going to enter, let us say the segment 1 I have mapped to company, and whatever the data I am going to enter for this company is going to be stored in your key flex field, accounting key flex field under the segment 1. Okay, and the next column what you can see is the default value set code. What does it mean is what we discussed for the structure. While you are defining your chart of account structure, chart of each of this segment is going to be tied with a value set. That is what we discussed, and that is why we created the value set in first place, right? The value set which we have planned for the company should be assigned here over here. So whatever we define, it should be available in the list of values. Okay, Apple company value set, this is I am going to assign to this code. Okay, right. So I have defined a segment, I have added a segment with the name, and I just map that segment to one of the key segment that Oracle gives, and I have assigned the value set as well to the segment. And just below that there is an one of the work area where you can see the segment labels. So what does it mean? Segment labels is segment label is an option that Oracle gives to classify your segments. What is the purpose? What are the properties of that segment you are defining? Okay, I am defining a segment called company, and what is the purpose of this company segment is going to do in my chart of account structure, right? So Oracle comes with predefined segment labels. Okay, you can see there are multiple n number of segment labels which are available in the which you can see on the right now on the screen. Majority of them are created by the users like who practices, but you should it is supposed not to create any of the segments. Okay, you have to use one of the segment label that Oracle gives you. You have to assign that segment label that Oracle gives you to the segment that you are creating. Okay, this is majority of these segments are created by custom segment labels created by the other user. So what are the predefined segments that you would be seeing is the primary balancing segment. Okay, second balancing segment you should see over here. Actually, where is second balancing segment? See, primary balancing segment, second balancing segment, third balancing segment, natural account, and also you should see the management account and intercompany account. These are the segment labels that Oracle gives you, and these are the segment labels you are going to assign to your segments in your chart of account structure as per as per their requirement, which means what you are how you are going to use those segments depends upon that requirement. You are going to assign these segment labels to the segments. Okay, so first place, what is the purpose of these segment labels? Then you can come to a conclusion what qualifies segment label I should assign to what segment, right? So primary balancing segment, second balancing segment, and third balancing segment, these serve the same purpose, but what is that purpose is the term itself is says balancing segment, right? Which means the segment label primary balancing, what it will do is it will balance the journal, which means it will the debit will made equal to the credit, right, by the application itself. What happens is whenever you assume that for the company we are assigning, just give me 1 minute guys, all the segments got selected. Okay, okay, so what I am doing right now is I am assigning primary balancing segment to the segment called company. Why? Because each journal, each transaction that you are going to book for a company has to be balanced. That is what the Oracle accounting thumb rule, right? Your debit should equal to your credit, right? How is that is going to be achieved in Oracle? Whenever you classify whatever the segment you classify as primary balancing segment, at that level, at that segment level, the journal is going to be balanced, which means the debit is going to be equal credit. Fine. So I have assigned this primary balancing segment to company. Then what is the purpose of the second and third balancing? Assume that the customer wants to generate the same transaction in multiple levels to track the financials in different ways. In that case, you will be adding this qualifier to a different segment. See, this segment primary company, I have assigned primary balancing segment qualifier to company, which means that the journal is going to be balanced at company level. Company Apple Inc level, the journal is going to be balanced. And I want to generate a report. I want to generate a report. The same internet expenses should get balanced at department level as well. In that case, what you can do is, for the department segment which we are going to define in the uh, next level, maybe you can assign that second balancing segment. Similarly, if they wish to go for the third, you can go and define for the third. But so far, I mean, generally companies will be, I mean, depends, since they have the detailed structure to track their financials. In generally we will be going with the balancing at one level, that is primary balancing segment, that is at the company level. Okay, how you can assign the segment label is, you just place the cursor, just select the segment and just click on this arrow mark which say move selected items to select labels. So which means select labels means, from the list of labels that Oracle gives you, you have already selected this. For this, you are already qualifying this company as primary balancing segment. So to select this one, just click on this one. To unselect, you just need to do it in opposite way. Okay, this is how the primary, second and third balancing segment function will do. Okay, what are the other segment labels we have? Natural account, uh, intercompany, management, right? So we will see that while we are working on. Okay, so just save and close. You can see one segment is added inside my chart of a construction. Okay, just I need to add the other segments, right? Tab out, the API name will be automatically populated. Okay, so give the name, description as you wish. The sequence, it should be the second position in my chart of one structure, and I'm making it as an enabled. And column name which I am going to map is this one into segment 2. Can you see here, since the segment 1 is already consumed, that segment will not be available in the list of values for this chart of account structure while you are working. Okay, so for this, while you are working on this chart of account structure, you have already consumed segment 1 for your previous segment, right? The company segment. That is why you are not able to see your segment 1. So we have assigned segment 2 for account, right? If you come back to this form again, while we are, if you are come back to this segment addition form for to add in another segment, the segment 2 will get disappeared. Why? Because this segment is already, you are already consumed for one of your existing segment of your chart of a construction, right? Next task is to assign the value set, right? Apple account value set I'm assigning right now. Okay, and since this is an account, you need to assign the segment label from the list of segment values. As per the requirement, you need to assign that segment label, that's what I told, right? The account in general, what you will be assigning with the segment label is called natural account segment. So what does this mean is natural account segment, what does this natural account segment qualifier will bring value to this segment is it it qualifies this segment, the Apple's account segment, as natural account segment. And the natural account segment, once you assign this segment label to this segment, what happens is in the backend system automatically treats this as an accounting segment. And the default attributes, what is the account attribute, that in general the accounting world, what you do is there will be in different types of accounts, right? The let us say you are defining 100 accounts, and what are the 100 accounts you are going to classify, right? There will be in my expense accounts, where we are going to use those accounts for to record my expenses. There will be some accounts which are revenue, which I am generating, which I am getting the revenue from my customers from by selling my products. So this revenue is going to be, or my income is going to be hit into the specific account, right? The income account, for example, I am getting a rental income. The rental income is going to be represented by one of my account, right? How do I separate that rental income account from rental expense account, right? There will be some assets you are maintaining as part of your business. So assets, each of these asset, land and building, your machinery, your laptops, everything, your chairs, furnitures, everything is going to be represented by its unique account, right? How do I classify that this account is my asset, this account is my liability, this account is my expense? How do you classify that? That classification is going to come by way of the segment label called natural account. Okay, whatever the segment you classify with the segment label natural account, so that segment value is going to ask you, while creating a value, it going to ask you what is the type of this account, whether it is going to be an expense or income or assets or liability or shares capital, right? So this is the attribute, specific attribute that are going to be derived, depends upon this segment label selection. Okay, why it is not coming? Okay, okay, I have classified the Apple account segment as natural account segment. With that, the values accounts that I am going to enter under this value set is going to be treated by different way, which means, how come this, just give me 1 minute. I don't keep a structure. Yes. Somehow it got saved. Not sure why, how come. But let me go and query the chart of one structure we are creating. Okay. Okay, no problem. So company, save and close. Only company got saved. The last action, whatever we did, it didn't got saved. So let me add the segment once again. Should be segment 2, right? And it be assigned with the value set called Apple account, right? We'll finish up this chart of account structure for today, and we'll wind up for today, guys. I need 5 more minutes. Yes, value set we had assigned, and now next task is to assign the segment label natural account, right? So just save and close, and similarly we are going to create the other segments in the structure we defined, right? This is the structure we agreed, this is the structure we are going to define, and this is going to be in a third place in my chart of frame structure. Display with segment column name 2 should get disappear. Just click on search. See, you are not able to see 2, right? Third segment, and department is going to be my cost center. Okay, why the department segment is cost center segment is required is just to track your expenses on a cost center wise. So cost center, which means I am treating my department as a cost center, and whenever you are implementing your fixed assets, it is required you need to define your department segment, because the depreciation expenses are generally you are going to track at your department level. So the assets are going to be tracked at department level, and the corresponding expense, one of the expense, one of the item that you are going to generate out of using the assets is depreciate, right? Over the period you will be depreciating your assets, right? That depreciation you are going to distribute over the department which actually that asset is being used by the various departments, right? To facilitate that functionality, we will be using the cost center segment label for the segment called, maybe you will be defining this segment as cost center or department, whatever. Okay, just save and close. But this value set, I think we haven't assigned the value set. Apple department, I'm assigning this value set, and the segment label I have selected is the cost center. Okay, click on save and close. The similar way, add the other segment. What was that? The product line, right? What is the segment I'm going to assign? 4. Okay, so this, select the relevant value set from the value sets we created, right? Apple product. So we are not assigning any qualifiers segment label to this segment. And the other segment is the intercompany. One more we required, right? Apple intercompany. We'll add another one is the Apple feature. Select the column name sorry, the segment, it should be 5, I guess. So you can, from the segment, you can use any segment. It is not required that you will be selecting the in sequence, but the best practice is to select the segments in sequence. That is what Oracle tells you. Oracle gives you an option. Okay. So since this is an intercompany segment, to generate the balancing to generate the balancing lines, intercompany balancing lines for my intercompany transaction, you should have the qualifier called intercompany segment for that intercompany segment. Okay. Intercompany segment qualifier segment label, we have assigned that segment label to the segment called Apple intercompany. Okay, we'll add one more segment, the Apple future, and we'll close for today. Apple future one. This is sixth, and assign the relevant value set, right? Apple future. Yes. So what we did is we have created the value sets, and we have just created a chart of account structure. Chart of account structure is the combination of segments, and segment is in return is assigned with your value sets, right? Each of these segment is associated with value set, unique value set, right? Okay, so once you are added your value sets, and you just click on save and close. So which means we have created a chart of account structure inside the accounting flex field. So this is going to be used in the ledger creation process, and this is going to be the base to generate your transaction report, transactional data in detailed manner. Okay, we will see the structure instance in the tomorrow session, structure instance, ledger creation, and the values in our upcoming session.